Good morning. This is Chris Valka, the Senior Director of Operations for the ION, and this is a special edition of 10 Minutes of Tech Gab. I'm here with Nicole Walters, Dr. Nicole Walters from the University of St. Thomas. Nicole and I were former colleagues at one time. And so, Nicole, it's great to see you in the midst of so much craziness. We were well overdue to have a conversation anyway, so I'm really grateful that you joined me in this way.
Chris, it's great to see you, and thank you for having me on. I'm so excited.
Yeah, great. The idea about this is really just to have a conversation about how technology is playing out in the world around us right now. And you and I are both having these experiences of trying to work and educate from home. Uh,
Yeah.
and and watching education change dramatically. And I'm going to have a conversation later on with one of your colleagues regarding the impact of this on higher education. But I
Right.
also, I really wanted our conversation to look a little bit at what's happening in most people's homes these days,
Yeah.
where the home is also now a workplace as well as
Yeah.
school, as well as often a church, as well as many things. I know
Right.
my experience with Houston Independent School District has been it's been challenging. I mean, we went to go log in and passwords didn't work and logins
Uh,
didn't work and
sure.
and there were resources, but you have to adapt those resources to the kids that you're trying to work with.
Right.
And so my first question is kind of what you see from your end at a broader perspective about what's working, what's not working, and we'll start there.
Yeah. So again, thanks for having me on, Chris. This is great. It's a great conversation to have. And it's one that I'm having daily with friends and colleagues just all over actually the country because we're all kind of dealing with this. First of all, the new normal is we keep our schedule, which, my daughter is 4 years old and she absolutely loves the fact that both of her parents are at home. My husband's a software architect and he travels, but his company, of course, is based out of the country. And so he's able to work from home. And so we're able to basically both work together with educating our daughter. Now, my daughter's school, she goes to a private Montessori school, and they've been extremely gracious and very organized and very proactive. And her teacher is incredible and has set up Zoom classes for 4-year-olds. And she's kind of, divided them into like reading groups. My daughter is a really accelerated reader, so she has them in different reading groups. And so she has a schedule. She wants to wake up late like a teenager. She wants to stay up all night. But she gets up, she gets on her Zoom call, just like we're doing. My husband's there with her during the math and science portion, and then I take over for the language arts and reading. And then in the midst of all that, I'm still taking calls all day at work because I'm a dean of a college, but my college is a virtual college. So I didn't really have to do any adjustments regarding the work that I do. I've just had to move operations now here at home where everything is here. So the challenging bit is educating the 4-year-old who is under the table right now, as you and I are talking, because she heard my voice because the office is upstairs and her room is around the corner, and making sure that we're still getting the work done at UST. Now, this is the thing. At work, I can kind of hide sometimes. If I don't want to go to a meeting, I don't have to go to a meeting, or I can reschedule it. Well, you're working from home now, you're on Zoom, and so you're there and you're expected to be there. So that's been a big adjustment.
Yeah, I certainly have talked to colleagues, and many of us have said, we're very busy. We don't even know everything we're doing. It's hard to report back, on what we're doing. I think the same thing is true with the schools.
Yeah.
And, the amount of, it's been hard to know what the real education time in a day looks like. I mean, I used to be a classroom teacher. I certainly
Mm-hmm.
can appreciate the fact that, about, 20% of your time is spent preparing, or actually teaching in the classroom, and the 80% is spent preparing and administrative duties and tasks. And I think parents are now often seeing the same thing, but really frustrated at the fact that they have this idea that, well, my kids are, they're trying to get to keeping up with the Joneses, but keeping up with this imaginary idea about what education really looks like. And I've often kind of thought that we're being really hard on ourselves. And I'm curious what
Yes.
you think from what you see, because I think, the real time of learning is probably not near as much as we think it is. And
Right.
that the kids, and what I find is, I guess I'll leave it at that. I mean, are we being too hard on ourselves in this moment?
Yeah, we are. So, Chris, I'm so glad you said that. We have so many friends who are just those high achieving parents, and they want to make sure that this opportunity is not lost, that they're not going to lose any of the educative experiences. But one thing I've said, and I'm a teacher at heart, I've been a classroom teacher, is give yourself some grace. And I've really told them to, this isn't school. During the school day, they take breaks. They go outside, they do fun things. I mean, there's not just the sitting down rote learning. And I have a lot of friends who put so much pressure on themselves. And I was sharing with them, first of all, given the age of a child, they really shouldn't be sitting for longer than 30 minutes. If they're in high school, they shouldn't be doing more than, 2 to 3 hours a day. And they are mind boggled by that. And I'm, kind of sharing with them that it's not what you think. And, anything that you're doing at home with your child can be an educational experience. One of the things that I've loved with having me and Chris at home and with Sydney is doing things as family that we hadn't done before because we're always just so very busy. That's making brownies together. That's cooking together. That's, making sure that every day we're going outside and having outside family time, which we use as science, and doing things like that, that it isn't just sitting in front of a Zoom or a computer, but it's things that, we're allowing the experiences to kind of guide some of this.
So, these days education has a lot to, I mean, screen time is a really big issue when it comes to a lot of parents, and limiting the amount of screen time and,
Yeah,
and recognizing how it often activates or triggers kids.
sure.
And so, when we look at so much of what's happening now, it's really easy to just kind of put the kid in front of a tablet and say, go do, moose math, or go
Yeah,
do, an online portal
yeah.
and do that.
Khan Academy or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Khan Academy. I mean,
yeah.
are there limits to technology when it comes to the learning that needs to take place?
Well, so I have such a visceral reaction to that because I'm married to a technologist, and he is a developer, and so he's like, "This is the wave. This is amazing," and it is. Me, I'm a little more of the old school brick and mortar, put the tablet down, let's monitor the screen time. And so we're trying to find the balance in that because there are so many incredible tools on technology. I think as a parent, it's just our job to make sure that we're monitoring it, and that is just not so much time for me. It's just making sure that she's not glued in so much because I don't want it to impact her eyes because she's like up this close to the tablet. Or my daughter can sit and zone everything out depending on what she's looking at. Now that's a good thing with the focus, but it's a bad thing that she zones everything out and I'm not here and Chris isn't here. It's just her in the tablet. So technology has given us an opportunity to really tap into some incredible learning modalities and things that we would not have experienced when you and I were in school. So for us, it's just maintaining the balance. But we
And
use it.
yeah, right. And I guess I'm also wondering that the next piece is what are we concerned about? I guess I have lots of concerns when I look at the lack of socialization. I mean, so much of what a brick and mortar school does is it gives you the opportunity to interact and collide with people that are different than yourselves.
Sure.
And now all of that is, I mean, we're going to have students who are um, very focused on these applications, but not really having the ability to discuss what they're learning with their peers or even see some of that positive peer pressure. And so I guess I am wondering, when we come out of all of this, what are we learning about the necessity of socialization, and do schools need to have conversations differently because of this experience?
Well, we're going to have to re-educate and repurpose how we're doing things. One of the things that I love about Zoom is it still gives us the opportunity to connect. Even though, like I said, my daughter's 4 years old, she's still on a Zoom call with her friends and her teacher's still, reading to them and even getting after them when they're kind of, on the camera, kind of cutting up. So I don't want to make it an either or. I think that we're going to have to repurpose how we do business and how we educate and how we live. Again, technology for me, I'm a dean of a school that works in technology. One of the degrees that I award is in cybersecurity and networking technology. So for me, technology is in the fingertips. And so we're trying to figure out how do we repurpose it so that it has a place in our lives that makes us efficient, but we don't lose the human touch. People have been having virtual happy hours. I don't know if you've gone on one.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I've gone on a few, and I was like, this is cool because I'm able to still keep in touch with my girlfriends or colleagues or friends. My husband last night, it was hilarious. He's a UT grad, and he was on the phone with like 5 of his friends, and he was like, this is so weird. And then he got into it, and I was like, see, it isn't all that bad. So I just think that we kind of have to reshift our thinking, and it's going to take some time.
Do you see in your experience with online education for your profession that, there is a way for some of this interaction to take place now using technology? Or do you really still find yourself saying, I got to find a way to bring people together?
Well, I like the fact that I'm going to use technology to bring people together. We do a lot in our interactive courses where we allow people to, have some asynchronous conversations and to also make sure that they're able to continue the purpose of the educational experience. So, I have some colleagues who are very much not yet ready for it. And I'm telling them the train is coming. Don't be afraid of it. Let's figure out in, baby steps. It's like an elephant. You don't eat it all whole. You do it in bite-sized bits. But for me, we're a virtual college. So we've had to make sure that we're still using the technology, but not losing the human touch.
Right. It's a real challenge. And I know as I've experienced this, balance to be able to have working from home and educating from home, how we do this in the future. I mean, we're all learning a lot in this moment.
Yeah.
And how we do this in the future is going to really, I think, reshape education, or at least if in the minimum, give both schools and parents a real appreciation for what education is,
Yes.
what it is not.
Yes.
And the role that technology can play, as I like to say, kind of as a facilitator of the learning process alongside the teacher or the parent with
Yeah.
the children.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I mean, as parents, we're the first teachers we're supposed to be, right? And so I'm laughing so hard at my friends who said, "I can't believe that you did that. I can't believe that you were a classroom teacher." And there's so many memes like, I need to send, a case of wine to my daughter or my son's teacher because I didn't realize what they're doing every day, and just a full-on appreciation for what goes on in schools. But the other piece is it's demanding schools to really, answer the call to be, like you said, prepared. Logins are ready. Teachers trained adequately to use technology. Teaching online is not emailing, 10 pages of assignments and saying, go do it and, check it on Friday. That's not distance learning. So we've had to, repurpose what it looks like for educators as well.
Right. I really appreciate that. And we're out of time. And so I'm going to leave it at that. Nicole, really appreciate the time. And we look forward to the next conversations.
Love it, my friend. Good to talk to you. Talk soon. Bye.